Again, watching the bottom of your screen. Good contact by Reese.
You can see Angels.
The rivalry they sold like a summer blockbuster just opened without its stars. Fans bought tickets for Caitlin Clark versus Angel Reese. What they got was a marquee with both names crossed out in red.
Engelbert tried to rig the cards in the WNBA's favor by having the Indiana Fever and the Chicago Sky go head-to-head 5 times this season. Unfortunately for Kathy Engelbert, Caitlin Clark and Angel Reese will only be going head-to-head 1 of those 5 times, and that time has come.
Clark shelved with a groin that wouldn't cooperate, and Reese is sitting because the tech stacked up like parking tickets on a street sweeper route. That's not hate. That's the time.
In her head. That's right. Angel Reese didn't use the front of her hand. Angel Reese went with the back of her hand and bow right across Aaliyah Edwards' head.
Timeline. Angel Reese has been hit with a 1-game suspension after her 8th technical foul of the season, which knocks her out of Friday's Sky Fever matchup. Meanwhile, the Fever shut Caitlin Clark down for the rest of the year. There's your click confirmation.
Caitlin Clark, she will be missing Friday's game due to her continued groin injury, and Angel Reese has been suspended for Friday's game after getting assessed a technical foul Wednesday night for pimp slapping Aaliyah Edwards.
Right up top. The public's take? We were promised Ollie, Frazier. We got a dress rehearsal and an empty stage. The contrarian twist? This mess isn't proof women's hoops can't carry a rivalry. It's proof the league overscripted one and real life
receives her 8th tech, which will prohibit her from playing against the Indiana Fever. And 2, she's in some pretty hot water with her teammates about the Chicago Tribune.
Life ripped up the cue cards. Quick proof? The WNBA built 5 Sky Fever games into the calendar. Yep, 5. Then watched injuries, suspensions, and backlash bulldoze the storyline. Here's the roadmap for today. How we got from hype train to train wreck, why Angel's slap and spin became the smallest.
And I looked at all of these damn alerts. I say, hold up, wait a minute. It is looking spooky. Angel Reese got suspended. Angel Reese threw her team under the bus. When the hell?
Part of a bigger fire, and what the league actually learned while trying to manufacture gravity. Let's start with what you saw, and then rewind the tape. In the Connecticut game, Angel tangles for position with Aaliyah Edwards, whips around, and the off-arm catches Edwards in the head. Blink and you miss it. Pause and you see the arc, the kind of slow-motion geometry coaches circle with a telestrator. The officials review it, slap on the technical, and that's number 8. Number 8 is automatic timeout, no pay, 1 game. No conspiracy.
Entire team feels attacked by her from comments that she made in a Chicago Tribune article. This is what Front Office Sports is reporting. According to the report, Reese said she doesn't believe her teammates Rachel Banham or Haley Van Lith are capable of leading a playoff team. Guard Ariel Atkins is another player on the Sky's roster with WNBA championship experience.
Conspiracy theory needed. That's the rulebook singing karaoke. Cue the headlines. Reese won't play Friday in Indianapolis. Cue the fan math. 5 rivalry dates on paper, 0 headliners tonight. Cue the league math. This is not what we budgeted. Context. Picture the week as a split screen. On the left, Clark, the league's biggest distributor of eyeballs, grimacing on a layup months ago, grinding rehab, then finally the announcement that the groin isn't right and she's done for 2025. On the right, Angel, equal parts engine and accelerant, picking up Tech 8 and turning Friday into a no-show. Application. For Indiana, the decision is blunt. No sense jeopardizing the future for a season that's already limping. Shut her down. Sell hope. Sell 2026. For Chicago, the suspension lands like a cymbal crash in a room already loud with second-guessing. Framing. Expectations versus reality. The script promised Clark versus Reese in prime time, again and again. Reality delivered Fever versus Sky minus the box office names. The basketball equivalent of opening your Uber app and getting no cars available. Mini cliffhanger because you deserve one. That backhand wasn't the week's most explosive contact. The bigger hit was verbal. Reese didn't just challenge opponents, she challenged her own house. In an interview that traveled like a gossip text, she pushed the front office to go big game hunting in free agency and, more controversially, name-checked teammates while doing it. If you've ever watched a locker room stiffen, you know the look. Everybody's suddenly fascinated by their shoelaces. Then, post-game, the pivot, apology, context, the classic "that's not what I meant" footwork that's been running in sports for 100 years. There's contrition in there, sure. There's also the unavoidable truth that words land where they land, and this batch hit like loose luggage in turbulence. And because the universe has a sense of humor, the franchise added its own twist of discipline, an internal, team-issued half-game sit-down for detrimental comments, layered on top of the league's one-game suspension for technicals. You couldn't storyboard a Messier confluence if you tried. Chicago didn't just lose a starter. It opened a meeting calendar full of clear-the-air sessions that feel less like team building and more like HR with Gatorade. Expect another cliffhanger? Here it is. When you mix performance frustration, public candor, and a roster that's already 10 to 30 tired, the next plot point is almost never, and then everyone hugged and went on a winning streak. Let's zoom out to the scheduling gamble that set the stage. The league didn't merely hope a rivalry would blossom. It planted one and watered it twice a week. 5 games between these teams isn't a coincidence. It's a programming choice. The logic is sound. Clark moves metrics, Reese moves culture. Put them in the same frame and watch the needle spike. But sports resist scripts. One injury, one suspension, one apology tour, and your tent pole becomes a tent with a broken pole. By the end, Indiana didn't just win the series. They swept the thing, 5-zip, double digits all over the ledger. What was pitched as must-watch turned into a case study in why the ball has veto power over the marketing deck. Return to the play that lit the fuse, because the details matter. Angel's spin isn't malicious so much as reckless and efficient. The kind of move that reads fine at full speed and reads bad at 240 frames per second. You can both believe Aaliyah sold it like a matinee pro and acknowledge the arm made contact. It's not Mortal Kombat, it's physics with consequences. And consequences in this league are codified. Hit the 8th tech, sit the next game, count your checks later. That's not bias, that's arithmetic. Retention beat. Watch how quickly this moment gets re-edited online into a career thesis. One clip becomes a brand definition. It's unfair and also inevitable, which is the entire internet in a sentence. Now the heavier chapter, the words. There's a version of Angel Reese that the public loves, the unapologetic competitor, the mythmaker, the crown is heavy maximalist who will absolutely sell out an arena just by being polarizing. That version is fuel. But there's another version the locker room has to live with, the coworker who publicly audits colleagues, circles names, and hands management a to-do list with "Get Me Better People" highlighted in neon. Context. Chicago's season was already a bruise. Losses stacking, rotations wobbling, veterans hurt, the young core learning lessons the hard way. Application. Drop public critique into that ecosystem, and the molecules do what molecules do. Bump, heat, rattle. Framing. Expectations versus reality again. Leadership is not just volume and vision, it's timing and place. You can be right about what the roster needs and wrong about how you said it. Another open loop. Was Angel actually wrong? On the macro? Not necessarily. The sky had felt like a rebuild that never found its blueprint. But the delivery turned honest assessment into shrapnel. The apology, to her credit, wasn't offensive. It read like a person who realized the messenger can mess up the message. Still, apologizing after the quote has ricocheted through every group chat in the building is like trying to stuff toothpaste back in the tube. The stains are smaller, not gone. The franchise responded with a half-game suspension for the comments, a compromise that says, "We hear you, and we also heard you." Meanwhile, the league's single-game tech suspension stays put because the rule lives above all of this. 2 tracks. 2 penalties. 1 player caught in the Venn diagram. The quiet third character here is the calendar. When a league leans on 2 names to ferry the brand across the season, the margins shrink. Clark's right groin shutdown isn't just a fever story. It's a programming hole and a sponsorship reset. For Indiana, it's the right call, big picture, short-term noise. For the WNBA, it's a reminder that banking 5 national interest games on one rivalry is romantic until the training table wins. Indiana made the sensible choice. The league has to make a smarter one next time. Diversify the tentpoles and let the beefs develop at their own pace. You can invite viral. You can't schedule it like a dental appointment. Pattern interrupt. Let's talk basketball, not just vibes. Even with the noise, Reese's engine is real. Work on the glass, second chance creation, the kind of physicality that bends a possession chart. That energy, harnessed, travels. But energy without a governor fries the battery. 8 technicals isn't just a number. It's a symptom of a game played on the edge without enough exits. If you're Chicago, the off-season film session writes itself. Keep the edge, sand down the splinters, redistribute the heat into things that show up in playoff box scores 2 years from now. That's the subtle math of becoming a franchise anchor instead of a franchise storyline, callback to the 5-game experiment. The Fever didn't just enjoy Chicago's drama, they cashed it in. 5-0 is emphatic, and it rewrites the narrative from rivalry to lesson plan. Real rivalries require scoreboard tension. Until Chicago makes Indiana feel fear in the last 2 minutes, the poster doesn't match the plot. That's not shade. Well, a little shade, it's just the criteria. The good news for the league is that tension can flip shockingly fast. The bad news is you can't fast-track it with promo shoots and hashtags. You get the rivalry you earned. Let's loop back to Angel, because that's where the camera keeps returning. There's a version of the next month that becomes a pivot instead of a punchline. Sit the game. Own the week. Make the apology the start of a new standard instead of the end of a news cycle. Use the suspension as whiteboard time. Cut the avoidable technicals. Reroute the edge into footwork instead of flails, and pull the conversation from who she called out to who she lifted up. It won't trend as hard as the slap clip, but it lasts longer in gyms that smell like victory. Point one more cliffhanger to carry you into the next game you actually get to see.